let's talk genre, shall we? Categorizing any media by genre is a rum business, and video games are no exception. It can be straightforward enough. Puzzle game. Platform game. Shoot 'em up. Easy, right? Oh, come on, you know this score. Puzzle game. Platform game. Shoot 'em up. But the genre that's had its definition most stretched over the years, its boundaries gerrymandered, its guest list made increasingly less exclusive, is the role-playing game, or RPG. So, we have RPG, 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 RPG. Sorry, Laura. Not this one, you greedy tart. And no, this doesn't count. So, the role-playing game. It's a silly term anyway. And the industry-shaming phrase massively multiplayer online role-playing game was the final straw, really. So, why are we even bothering to go on about it? Well, thanks for asking. It's been causing a bit of a fuss as far as recently released 360 epic Mass Effect is concerned. Why? Because in the eyes of many veteran gamers, Bioware makes RPGs. Proper dice-juggling beard twitchers like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. And it even RPG'd the Star Wars universe in Knights of the Old Republic. So, Mass Effect, Bioware's latest RPG, right? Well, in the run-up to its release, the press certainly thought so, duly dishing out at least 10 Best RPG awards. But the proof, as ever, is in the playing. And the playing suggests Mass Effect is in fact a mass-market action game with a deep, compelling story, and what might be considered more traditional RPG features added into the mix. As Kristen explained in the lively comments thread to his 8 out of 10 review, it's 95% action in the missions. If you really expect more than underlying RPG elements, then you'll be very, very disappointed. But a lot of hardened RPG fans expected just that, and what a palaver it's caused. Fans' expectations are a tricky thing to manage, and RPG a stupid term anyway. But Mass Effect, great game. Best action-adventure, role-playing, space shooting, planet-hopping, talk-em-up hybrid we've played in yonks. What do you think, Dr. Greg?
It's an interesting question about how we balance the issue of having a lot of the RPG features like character progression and talent trees, and the mainstream audience. How do you get those things together? And the combat itself is actually quite accessible in that you can pause it. And so the interesting thing about that, though, is it takes it away from being an elite shooter type experience and moves it more into a little bit of a tactical experience where you have to think. I think one of the things that tends to characterize Bioware games, the two things probably, are that we're always striving for that emotional engagement, and we think that the actors do that. And the second thing is, when you're having some kind of conflict or combat, you're always thinking. You're always it's not just mindlessly press the button. You're like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Bioware wants to tell us an enthralling story then. And that's exactly what the team has done, with a little help from its friend, Mr. Technology.
The new tech is helping story in a few different ways. One of the ways, of course, is just that sort of gesture-based, emotion-based acting. We actually literally have a team of people that work on polishing the acting of the characters in the game. That's their job, and we have a lot of detailed systems controlling the animation. A lot of what we do is actually procedural, which means that it's automatic. Like when someone talks, the characters actually know, hey, someone's talking, they'll actually turn towards them. They'll turn properly. Their eyes will go first, then their head. So a lot of really subtle technology has been applied, but very powerful. But to create that realistic appeal is hard.
So with the tech in place, Mass Effect's moral universe can bloom. And where the moral choices in Knights of the Old Republic were largely black and white, Mass Effect's a shaded grey.
I'm here for the get. It's very important I find out what they're after.
There's certainly a lot of gray in terms of the moral choices in Mass Effect. We actually have a different system as well that we're using that keeps track of both the good and the evil at the same time and keeps them, in a sense, separate, so that you can't say, hey, I was good today, that undoes the does the bad thing I did yesterday. I mean, real life doesn't work like that. If you did something bad, people remember it. And so that's kind of how the game works. And that actually also, it's really cool because it kind of plays into how, when you talk to characters, you can sometimes intimidate them. Like if you're known to as someone who's done some really bad things in the past, if you're threatening them, I think they're more inclined to believe you if they, you got a reputation for being really ruthless.
So, having made such a huge creative and financial investment in Mass Effect, this obviously won't be the last of it. And the saga will play out across a trilogy of games. In between, there'll be generous helpings of downloadable content to gorge on. So, how do they decide what goes in the sequel pie, and what makes it as an online snack?
That's an excellent question about, what's the content difference of episodic and downloadable. I think we put a lot of thought into the downloadable stuff. I think we've been, known to do it as Bioware in the past with Neverwinter Nights particularly. We did our own module system. A lot of the thought we put into it, I think the biggest thing you have to do is if you're ever really even downloading something, it still has to have value. Like you still have to feel like, hey, I'm getting value for money. You feel like, you and the customer, there's a fair transaction there. And I think, what we're trying to do is find ultimately what the good things in the game are and give more of those. And the great thing about Mass Effect as well is, there's the story and the combat and your character progression, but there's the galaxy. It's exploring the galaxy. It's, it's limitless. So theoretically, I mean, I don't think we would achieve this, but you can continue to add stuff forever.
Many decisions lie ahead. None of them easy.